Hello everyone, I'm Amber, and I'm about to share a story about my mother-in-law's actions toward me, and how I managed to handle the situation. My mother-in-law, Patricia, was always curious about my inheritance, often asking, "Amber, when will you receive your inheritance? I heard it's around $35 million. We could lead such a luxurious life with that kind of money. It's taking forever to process, isn't it?" These words, openly shared by Patricia since I married her son, Raymond, showed her interest in my financial matters. At first, I naively informed her about my inheritance, which, in hindsight, was a huge mistake. After that, Patricia became overly friendly. At times, her constant inquiries were bothersome, but I didn't give it much thought. However, my husband, Raymond, and father-in-law, Gary, would often reprimand her, telling her, "Patricia, you need to stop bothering Amber about her inheritance. It's irrelevant when or if she receives it. It's none of our concern." Raymond even pointed out, "Mom, you're being incredibly rude and irritating. Amber and I are doing well financially. We're even supporting you and Dad. What more could you possibly want?" Despite this, Patricia dreamed aloud of a more luxurious lifestyle, suggesting we could abandon our current home for a mansion. Her fixation on the money was clear. Attempting to shift the conversation, I joked, "Who knows if I'll ever receive the inheritance? The process is complex, and for all you know, I might have made up the entire thing." This comment made everyone laugh except Patricia, who gave me a stern look, visibly upset by my words. Following that incident, Patricia's demeanor towards me shifted drastically. She became openly hostile and insulting, a clear indication of her greed and how deeply my words had affected her. Her behavior worsened, demonstrating an unanticipated level of animosity when she realized I might not be as wealthy as she thought. A turning point came when Patricia took her frustrations out on me directly. One day, while Raymond and Gary were away, I encountered Patricia in the kitchen. With a look of disdain, she demanded I follow her to her room, signaling the start of an unexpected and challenging confrontation. Patricia called me aside with urgency, insisting we needed to speak in private immediately. She mentioned it was critical, but her insistence only made me more curious and a bit apprehensive. Deep down, a thought flickered through my mind, connecting her sudden urgency to a postnuptial agreement, though I wasn't entirely sure why. The thought lingered. Not wanting to be left in the dark, I followed her to her room. Upon entering, Patricia locked the door behind us, an action that caught me completely off guard. Holding the keys tightly in her hand, she demanded, "Amber, you're staying in here until you sign these papers." I was stunned, questioning her motives and the extremity of her actions. Patricia explained, rather forcefully, that she wanted me to sign a postnuptial agreement drawn up by a lawyer. This document was supposed to ensure that I wouldn't be entitled to any financial claim against Raymond if we ever divorced. I was taken aback, unable to fathom her reasoning or why she would assume Raymond and I would end our marriage. Despite my protests and disbelief over the divorce insinuation, Patricia was adamant. She insisted on me signing the papers, claiming she had the situation under control and implying she would play a role in our marital future. Reluctantly, I began to read the document, curious about its contents and the extent of its demands. The agreement was stringent, stipulating that in the event of a divorce, Raymond and I would have no financial claims on each other, denying alimony or any form of asset division. This meant we could only retain assets that were individually in our names. The terms were shocking and sparked immediate anger within me. Confronting Patricia, I questioned the necessity and the suddenness of such a document. We had never discussed any form of prenuptial or postnuptial agreement before. Her actions and the presentation of the agreement were not only unexpected, but seemed to hint at deeper issues and intentions. The situation had escalated far beyond simple family dynamics, signaling a complex web of intentions and potential conflicts. Patricia revealed her true colors, admitting she had initially welcomed me into the family because she believed I would inherit $35 million, which would eliminate the need for a prenuptial agreement for her son. Now, accusing me of lying and labeling me a precious metal, she claimed I was a financial burden to Raymond and demanded I sign a prenup to safeguard his assets before plotting our separation. It became crystal clear to me. Patricia's silence on a prenup all these years was due to her hope of benefiting from my supposed inheritance. Discovering the inheritance might be a mirage, she now aimed to strip me of any future claims on Raymond's assets. Her manipulative plan was to fabricate a story or create a scenario that would drive Raymond to divorce me, favoring a wealthier match to ensure a luxurious life for her family. Patricia's disdain was palpable as she insisted Raymond deserved better than to marry someone without a significant inheritance, blatantly disregarding our relationship and the love that bound us. Her vision was clouded by greed, seeing me only as a hindrance to a fanciful lifestyle she had waned. Her words were a mix of fury and revelation for me. I had always sensed a certain tension from Raymond and Gary toward Patricia, but her blatant greed and disregard for our marriage's sanctity were appalling. This encounter revealed her willingness to sacrifice her son's happiness for material gain, a realization that only deepened my gratitude for having no such inheritance to bind me to her expectations. Determined not to let Patricia's manipulations dictate my actions, I stood firm against signing the postnuptial agreement she brandished. If Raymond believed such an agreement was necessary, I insisted it be a decision made together, with proper legal counsel, not a unilateral demand from his mother. I refused to comply with her demands, aware that she might not let me leave without conceding but ready to confront her, armed with the truth and the integrity of my relationship with Raymond at the forefront. Patricia seemed to relish the control she had over me, noting that Raymond and Gary wouldn't be back from their fishing trip for a while, and leveraging the fact that my work was calling me back to my duties. Desperate to return to my responsibilities, I demanded the keys, eager to escape her grasp. But Patricia escalated the situation, grabbing my hand painfully and berating me, accusing me of being a precious metal among other cruel accusations. My anxiety soared as her grip tightened and her screams filled my ears, all while my boss continued to call, expecting my return to work. Feeling trapped and overwhelmed by Patricia's intimidation and the pressure of my pending work responsibilities, I reluctantly signed the document she presented. With a satisfied smirk, Patricia released me. I quickly fled the room the moment she unlocked the door, locking myself in another room to find solace and safety. Once alone, I reached out to my boss, explaining the ordeal with Patricia. She was incredibly understanding and supportive, appalled by Patricia's actions. She kindly offered me the day off to recover from the distressing incident. I documented the physical evidence of Patricia's aggression, photographing the bruising on my arm, a stark reminder of the lengths she would go to. My frustration and anger mounted as I reflected on her actions and determined that she should face consequences for her behavior. Choosing not to disturb Raymond and Gary with a call while they were away, I waited for their return to address the incident in person. When they arrived the next day, cheerful from their trip, the atmosphere quickly shifted as they sensed the tension between Patricia and me. Raymond, sensing something was amiss, approached me for answers, but I requested some time before delving into the details. Seizing the moment, Patricia swiftly engaged Raymond in a conversation, presumably to discuss the prenuptial agreement, unaware of the confrontation that had transpired in their absence. The situation was poised on the brink of revelation, with each of us holding pieces of a story yet to be fully unveiled. Not long after Patricia summoned Raymond, he descended the stairs, visibly upset and frustrated. Holding the controversial document in hand, he confronted his father. "What is this all about, Dad? Did you know about these papers?" He was referring to the postnuptial agreement his mother had orchestrated. And Gary, taken aback, genuinely knew nothing of the scheme. "What papers are you talking about, Raymond? What postnup?" he questioned, bewildered by the sudden tension. Raymond explained, "It's a ridiculous postnup Mom cooked up for Amber and me." It was clear he found the entire situation absurd and unjustifiable. Gary immediately clarified, "Raymond, I'm completely out of the loop here. I have no idea what this is about." His confusion and surprise were palpable, directing his gaze towards Patricia for an explanation. Patricia cornered and defended her actions under the guise of protection. "I'm doing this for our good, Raymond. Your wife. She's not going to bring anything but trouble. She's just after your money," she accused, labeling Amber a precious metal and insinuating she had lied about an inheritance to ensnare Raymond. Raymond, shocked by his mother's harsh words, couldn't comprehend her logic. "What does Amber's inheritance have to do with us? How can you say such things, Mom?" he asked, struggling to understand her motives. Patricia doubled down, painting a grim picture of Amber exploiting Raymond and eventually leaving him financially drained through a divorce. She urged Raymond to sign the postnup and consider divorce, promising a future with a more financially suitable partner. This accusation ignited Raymond's anger. He vehemently defended Amber, joined by Gary, marking a rare moment of unity against Patricia's manipulations. It was a turning point for me, seeing Raymond stand up for our relationship, dispelling any fears of his loyalty. What they both didn't know was the truth about my inheritance. It had come through the day before, a detail I hadn't shared amidst the chaos. As the argument subsided, Raymond's gaze met mine, filled with questions and concern. "Amber, why did you agree to sign that postnup? You should have waited for me. You know I'd never support such a thing. Why let Mom pressure you into this?" His disappointment was evident, yet it was mingled with a desire to understand, to rectify the situation together. I reassured Raymond, "I never doubted you would request such a thing. You've always supported me unconditionally. I had every intention to discuss the postnup with you, but I was never given the chance." I explained how Patricia had trapped me in her room, her grip unyielding until I succumbed to signing the document. My lack of choice was clear. I was coerced into giving my signature. Raymond and Gary were shocked by my account, especially as Patricia didn't attempt to refute my claims. Instead, she appeared almost smug about her actions. This only fueled the outrage in my husband and father-in-law, their disbelief turning to anger upon seeing the marks on my arm. Their response was immediate and heated. "Mom, what have you done to Amber? How could you lay hands on my wife? This is assault," Raymond exclaimed, while Gary condemned Patricia's actions as madness. Patricia tried to justify her actions by claiming she was protecting her son from being taken advantage of, insisting she acted out of maternal instinct. But Raymond countered her claims with disgust, emphasizing that his marriage to me was never about financial gain. Patricia, still clinging to her delusions of a wealthier life, lamented Raymond's supposed promise to elevate their living standards, which she believed could only be achieved by marrying into wealth. This assertion only deepened the divide, prompting Raymond and Gary to challenge her greed and her disregard for the values that truly mattered to them. Their argument escalated as both men confronted Patricia's greed and her harmful actions. Eventually, her obstinance began to crack under the weight of their unified stand, hinting at a realization that perhaps her actions had crossed a line far beyond what was defensible. Cornered and recognizing that Gary and Raymond were not on her side, Patricia resorted to tears, attempting to sway them with her emotional outburst. She cried, claiming her actions were for the betterment of the family, insisting she deserved a better life for her sacrifices, including offering her home. She portrayed herself as the victim, wronged by those she had sheltered. Raymond responded with a reality check, reminding her that their living arrangement was mutually beneficial, highlighting that he and I were the ones financially supporting the household, not the other way around. Fed up with her manipulative tactics, he declared their decision to move out and cease financial support, signaling a drastic change prompted by her actions. Gary, too, had reached his limit. Years of enduring Patricia's greed had worn thin, especially now that she had resorted to aggression and manipulation against me. Offering a lifeline, he suggested he could leave with us, disassociating himself from Patricia's toxic behavior, affirming his support wasn't for her actions but for us, his family by choice rather than by blood. Patricia, unfazed, mocked our ability to survive without her, suggesting a grim future for us in substandard living conditions. Her taunts were meant to belittle and undermine our decision, banking on the assumption of financial instability on our part. It was then I chose to reveal the truth, countering her bleak predictions with confidence. I calmly stated that housing and supporting us would not be an issue, challenging her narrative of financial doom. Patricia, still entrenched in her delusion, laughed off my assertion, labeling me a broken precious metal, unable to provide for Raymond and Gary without her. Her scorn was palpable, but it was based on outdated information. Taking this moment, I corrected her assumption. Far from the broke individual she painted me as I was neither financially destitute nor a precious metal. My silence on my financial status until now had been a choice, not a necessity, and it was time Patricia understood the reality of the situation she had so grossly misjudged. Indeed, I revealed to them, I'm actually quite well off thanks to the $35 million I have access to. Not all of it is in cash, but there's more than enough to go around. This revelation took everyone by surprise, especially Patricia, who was caught off guard by the sudden shift in my financial narrative. Patricia, bewildered, challenged me. But you said there was no inheritance. You lied? I responded a bit wearily. Patricia, your nagging was exhausting, so I made a flippant remark about not having any inheritance, not expecting it to unveil your true intentions. Honestly, I'm thankful for that joke now. It showed me who you really are. The revelation left Patricia scrambling, her mind racing for ways to amend our fractured relationship. Attempting to downplay her previous hostility, she laughed it off, claiming she thought I was serious about not having an inheritance. "Oh, Amber, you trickster! We could have avoided so much misunderstanding if only you had told us earlier," she said, trying to smooth things over. I countered. "Really, Patricia, if I had told you it was a joke, you wouldn't have pushed for that postnup or tried to sabotage my marriage, would you?" Her attempts to retract her actions, claiming she was carried away and admitting her rudeness by tearing up the postnup agreement, were too little, too late. Firmly, I stood my ground. "Patricia, it's clear now that you shouldn't concern yourself with my inheritance. Our relationship can't be mended so easily. If Raymond is still on board with moving out and cutting ties, I'm fully supportive of that decision." This moment marked a turning point, underscoring my independence and readiness to move forward without the strain of Patricia's manipulative tactics, prioritizing my well-being and my relationship with Raymond over any financial entanglement with her. Raymond made it clear, "We're moving out, Amber. My mother's greed has shown no bounds, and I refuse to let her exploit you any further. We'll leave by the end of this month, and Dad's coming with us." This decision was unanimous among us. Myself and Raymond had already started house hunting and found a perfect place an hour away. Securing a house and planning a move within a month might seem daunting to some, but our financial stability made the process smooth and efficient. As we had discussed, Gary decided to join us, stepping into a new chapter of his life as he initiated divorce proceedings against Patricia. His decision was made independently, driven by the events that unfolded, and he filed for divorce within the same month we decided to move. Patricia, desperate and cornered, pleaded with us to reconsider, attempting to elicit sympathy through tears and apologies. However, her financial predicament only compounded her woes. Without a personal income and with Gary's financial dependence on Raymond, neither was eligible for alimony. Interestingly, Gary was entitled to half of Patricia's house, as it was acquired post-marriage, leading to an ironic twist where Patricia had to sell her home, the very outcome she feared and tried to avoid by meddling in our finances. The divorce process dragged on for a year, marked by mandatory separation periods and Patricia's visible distress over her dwindling finances, forcing her to expedite the sale of her house for survival. Following the divorce's conclusion and the settlement of their assets, Gary opted for a modest apartment. While he valued his independence and wished not to impose on our new life, we continued to support him financially, able to do so comfortably. This series of events, while tumultuous, reinforced our family bonds, underscoring the importance of integrity, support, and the true value of relationships over material gain.